Hi everyone, and welcome to the webinar. To be respectful of everyone's time, I'm just going to go ahead and get started. So today I'll be presenting #HowToSigmaPiSigma, and I am Dr. Andrew Zeidel. I'm the Assistant Director of Sigma Pi Sigma at the American Institute of Physics. So let's get started. So the purpose and scope of this webinar is that it's a webinar for advisors, but anyone is welcome to watch. And the things you'll learn from this webinar are going to be things like induction eligibility, the Inductions Timeline, using the Inductions portal, structure of the ceremony, and tips for making your ceremony memorable, as well as some useful information about Sigma Pi Sigma. So let's start with eligibility for Sigma Pi Sigma induction. Who's eligible to be invited? So, for undergraduates, it's based on coursework or service, and they have to be undergraduate students at a school with a chapter. There is a class ranking or GPA requirement that's associated with their coursework, and they must be in the upper 1/3 in general scholarship. Students may also be inducted based on service, and I'll talk about that on the next slide. Graduate students can be inducted based on their undergraduate records, or if they've done service to the department, the chapter, or the community. They can also be inducted off their graduate record as long as they've completed at least 1 year of courses credited towards a physics or astronomy graduate degree. Faculty and professionals may also be inducted, and this can be based on service to the department, chapter, or community, or based on their professional record or graduate study. There is also the category of honorary membership, and this is reserved for those who have made national level contributions to physics and or astronomy. While chapters can nominate people for honorary membership, the membership is approved by a vote from the National Council. So let's talk about memberships for service. Undergraduates can be inducted based on their service or leadership. So if they've been really active in your SPS chapter or taken a leadership position and really done a lot but they don't meet the academic requirements, they can be inducted based on service. They participate in the induction ceremony just like other students inducted based on academic records. However, they are inducted typically in the last semester of their schooling. And in this way, they fall more under the professional category of membership as opposed to undergraduate student and can be inducted based on those merits. Well, let's talk about who can start a chapter. So if you don't already have a chapter, you can start a chapter at your university. You need to be an accredited college or university that offers a bachelor's degree or higher in physics or astronomy. You must also regularly offer courses in physics, astronomy, or both, as to constitute an undergraduate or graduate curriculum commonly called a physics major or astronomy major. So if you're interested in starting or maybe revitalizing a chapter that's been inactive for a while, you can do this by filling out this petition. So the link is here. You can also scan the QR code and then send an email to sigmapisigma@aip.org. So now let's talk about planning for inductions. I'm going to start with an induction timeline. I know that we're getting pretty close to when inductions typically happen, so some of these dates may have already passed. Early on, when you're planning your inductions, you want to set a date for your ceremony. This is a great time to reach out to special guests and invite them. These can be alumni, they can be national office staff, they could be the Sigma Pi Sigma president. This is a great time to reach out way ahead of time and get it on their calendars. Around 4 months ahead of time is a good time to determine your list of new members and alert them with invitations. Now, we know from interacting with a lot of chapters that invitations are much more likely to be accepted if you've talked about Sigma Pi Sigma to your students. So this is also a good time to make those personal communications with your students and tell them what Sigma Pi Sigma membership is. If you just invite them with the standard email from our system, they might just throw it in the junk mail and ignore it. Another thing to do around this time is to decide how payment will be made. Are you going to have your students pay individually, or can the department or chapter fund it? And if you do need to ask for money from the department, we all know that can take a while, so it's good to get started on that early. Around 3 weeks before your induction ceremony is a good time to send the actual invitations to join. So you can log into My Honor Society and send out those invitations with the templates that are provided, or design your own template. You can also use the website to order any supplies that you might want, such as cords or stoles, and make sure that they get there in time for the ceremony. Around 2 weeks ahead of time is a great opportunity to review and download our induction resources. We do have a PowerPoint script along with the official ceremony included within it, and you can get all these from our website. During the ceremony, I encourage everybody to take photos and videos to document your ceremony. It's great practice for keeping historical records within your department, and also it's a great thing to submit with your chapter report because the National Office does take a look at all of these, and we like to feature chapters who have done really cool ceremonies in our publications. Now I want to talk about something that's kind of a hidden variable that I mentioned a little bit, but invitations that come with personal discussion from the advisor are much, much more likely to be valued and accepted. So long before you start this inductions timeline, Sigma Pi Sigma should be brought up to students, and you should discuss people who are Sigma Pi Sigma members, who are alumni, and that they've been involved, and thinking of ways to integrate this into your meetings, such as inviting Sigma Pi Sigma members to come give talks, or inviting them for colloquia, and mentioning to the students that, hey, they're a Sigma Pi Sigma member. This has been shown to demonstrate to your students what the value of Sigma Pi Sigma is, and I think that's really important. For inviting special guests, past inductees are a great resource for this. So with the web portal that we supply all advisors, you can access all the contact information for your alumni. So inviting them is pretty easy. You just log in and get their email address. Now whether they accept or not is up to the individual, but at least you'll have that information after they've been inducted. Another opportunity is to invite someone who knows the history of the chapter or can talk about the history of the department. Or maybe you want to reach out to people in the field that you know that can give a really cool talk, or you can request a speaker from Sigma Pi Sigma or use some of our pre-recorded plenary talks. If you do want to add some items to your order, make sure you add any of these items by the group closing date. So if you want it delivered on time, it needs to be ordered by then. And you should also allow 2 weeks for the office to get supplies to you for ceremonies. We can rush these, but the closer you get to your induction ceremony, the less likely it'll arrive on time if you order it like within a couple days. So make sure your delivery address is correct in My Honor Society as well. Sometimes supplies do get delivered to the department, but they're not addressed correctly. So making sure that delivery address is correct is really important to getting your materials on time. Deciding how to pay is an important step because chapters that pay for induction fees have an average 78% increase in acceptances. If you're having students pay, make sure they know the value of the membership before you send out those invitations. And if you're paying, make sure to budget for inductions with the department ahead of time. So let's take a look at the membership process from the student perspective. So they get your invitation from the Sigma Pi Sigma chapter, they accept the invitation, then they have an induction ceremony, and then they get lifetime membership. So it's pretty straightforward for the student. Invitations are sent out from our My Honor Society portal, and each new member pays a one-time fee of $54 at the time of their reception, unless the advisor has waived the fees. So let's talk about how to use My Honor Society. You can access My Honor Society from sigmapisigma.org. So if you log in, this should be on the front page, and you can click the button for the induction portal to get there. Once you log in, you'll be able to access your portal. This is where you set up all of your invitations, and we do have a detailed walkthrough at this link, and I can send you guys the slides later, and it's also accessible on the Sigma Pi Sigma website. So this is a quick look at your dashboard. So you've got your dashboard, invitations, members, where you can collect all the member information, reports that show you who has accepted and who hasn't over the years, and that can give you kind of an idea of what the acceptance rate is within your department. You can also change the settings for your chapter, and this would be things like shipping addresses or who the sponsor is. So a quick note, acceptance rate and induction fees. Students are much more likely to accept an invitation if you cover the induction cost, and waiving fees is really easy to do in the web portal. So if you go to your invitation groups and go to your invitees tab, you can click this little green $sign and it will waive the induction fees, and it will also send the student an email with an access code so they can accept the invitation. Now, I mentioned earlier, inviting alumni is easy to do through this system, so you can find all of your alumni contact information by logging into My Honor Society, clicking on Members, and go to Member Search. The first thing that shows up is a directory of all members that have been inducted in your chapter, and it should have their email, their phone number, and their mailing address. Now, something that happens a lot of times is that students will enter in their school email address, which we all know for a lot of schools, it may not be your school in particular, but a lot of schools will close those email addresses after they graduate. So we would like to recommend that advisors collect their permanent email address so that it's easier to get in touch with them later and put that into the system, not the school email. A few terms that might be useful to know with My Honor Society. The group closing date is after this time is when the national office sends induction materials, and 2 weeks are required to ensure your materials arrive in time, and the induction date is the planned date of your induction ceremony. Invitations do expire, so if you have a group of students that didn't accept, but then they come talk to you after the invitations have expired, you can always re-invite them just by creating another invitation group. The invitation itself, we do have a provided template that you can edit and tailor to your chapter's needs. A few important notes about the system. Invitations do come from a no-reply email address, and this might end up in junk mail, so make sure you tell your students that they got an invitation and to check their email for it. Another thing that has happened in the past is that the IT department has filtered out the IP address for our system into junk mail, so make sure you ask them to whitelist this IP address and this email address to help ensure your invitations get to your students. We suggest you contact them as soon as possible with this information so that your students will get all your messages. Now let's talk a little bit about the structure of the ceremony. Whether it is combined with other events or it's a standalone thing, plan about an hour for the ceremony itself. You can also have a reception afterwards, so you might want to plan some time for that. Just a helpful tip, bring in someone who can speak about the history of the department or chapter, or you can just follow the script that's in our PowerPoint slides. Consider having your special guests and your talks first, followed by the ceremony with an optional reception for family, friends, and new members. So here's a quick example of how it could go. You could bring in a professor emeritus who talks about the Sigma Pi Sigma chapter. Maybe they helped found it. That could be around 20 minutes, and then maybe they could give a fun story about it. And then a recent Sigma Pi Sigma alumni gives a short talk, followed by the official ceremony, which is led by the advisor. Or, in a different example, which I've also seen done, faculty can take turns reading parts of the induction script that we provide, and followed by the official ceremony, which is led by the Sigma Pi Sigma advisor. Definitely consider modifying the template. Our scripted slides can be modified. Feel free to add in some history, maybe some pictures about the department, and think about adding in a slide that showcases who's getting inducted, so you could have all their pictures and names, or just a list of names. It adds a personal touch to this template. There is an official ceremony which is embedded in the slides that are sent out, and the structure of the official ceremony is that there's a reception into membership, and that must follow the official procedure. So for 2023, the induction ceremony slides have a script for you to follow for the official procedure. If you download those slides, it is slides 13 through 16, and those are required for induction. And I'm going to go through those slides one by one with you, and that'll give you an idea of parts of the ceremony that are official. So the first part of the official ceremony is the symbolism. And so this showcases the different symbols that are used within Sigma Pi Sigma. Let's start with the motto. The motto of the society is ΣΠΣ Induction. And this is loosely translated from the Greek as investigation, the forerunner of knowledge, or the active pursuit of knowledge. If you put it into Google Translate, you'll probably get something similar, but not exactly this. So it speaks to the goal of physics and astronomy, which is to understand that which is unknown. Our name, Sigma Pi Sigma, comes from the first letters of this motto. The motto emphasizes the experiments that are the basis of progress in science. And then we have the key. So this is the original student design, and it has the shape of the historic standard voltmeter. Across the top of the key is the name of the society. And then in the apex of the key is an incandescent lamp connected to a dynamo in the center. The pin, which symbolizes your membership in the society, has this shape. And the founders of the society used the standard voltmeter to symbolize the high accuracy, which is the hallmark of careful experiments. The lamp is the symbol of knowledge, and the dynamo represents the creative energy that is so necessary to productive research. And so we also have the official publication of Sigma Pi Sigma is called Radiations, and the lamp that is radiating out kind of symbolizes the inspiration for the name of our publication, where we're radiating out stories about our members to other members. We also have the insignia, which is the key once again, and it consists of the outline of the figure of the key with a scroll superimposed on the stem. The Greek word Sophia, or knowledge, is written across the scroll. We also have the seal, which is student designed, and this is a scan of the original seal. It's a circle with the name of the society around the top, and then the Greek word physica is in the center, and at the bottom is the founding year of Sigma Pi Sigma. So in the induction ceremony script, basically everything that I just said is in the script, and that is part of the official ceremony in explaining the symbolism. Now let's go to the next slide, which is when students will sign the book. So whoever the presiding officer is, or the designated individual is going to read off a script. And this is something that you should make sure that you say to your members, and I'm going to read it out to you. Our new members should always remember that Sigma Pi Sigma was founded by students and continues to exist mainly for their benefit. The standards for Sigma Pi Sigma membership are very high, so that only those deeply interested in physics will be eligible for membership. We will now induct the new members. Each new member, when your name is called, please come forward and receive your pin and certificate and sign the membership book. Your signature in the membership book signifies your acceptance of your Sigma Pi Sigma membership and the responsibility of lifetime service that goes with it. So it's kind of a profound moment when the students hear this and they sign the book and they think about this. And I've got a lot of testimonials from students about what it felt like to sign that book. So that's why reading this off in this way is very important. And then the next part is the induction itself. So whoever the presiding officer or designated individuals is going to say this. And you'll call all the names with the introduction of each student as they sign the book. So the presiding officer can hand this off to somebody and they can say, I will now ask blank to please give the charge to our new members. And here's where you'll read off the charge. And you'll say, I, your name, agree to uphold the pillars of Sigma Pi Sigma, encourage those seeking knowledge and competence in physics and astronomy, develop and maintain an attitude of service, support colleagues, promote fellowship, and honor excellence in physics and astronomy, and encourage scholarship in physics and astronomy at all levels. By reciting these words, you agree. All of our inductees will receive a Sigma Pi Sigma pin and certificate to be an outward-facing symbol of their honor and ability to serve. all new inductees should also agree to sign the red department membership book upon return to their chapter. Your signature in the membership book signifies your acceptance of your Sigma Pi Sigma membership. It is now my great privilege to declare you members of Sigma Pi Sigma and having all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities of members in the society. After this, we give the charge to new members. And this is once again done by the presiding officer or designated individuals. And it goes like this. Those of us who are gathered here today have a real and an enduring interest in physics. We believe in the importance of physics and astronomy as a basic science and as a contributor to a strong and just society and country. We charge you to continue your commitment to physics and astronomy, working to assist the development of interest in physics and astronomy at all possible levels. One finds Sigma Pi Sigma members among all professions. There are practicing physicists among Sigma Pi Sigma members. Excellence in physics and astronomy has also led members into other careers. Through these members, Sigma Pi Sigma has enriched the world beyond just the professional physics community. Sigma Pi Sigma unites a diverse group of exceptional people who have shared in the culture and traditions of physics. With the common thread of this shared background in physics, Sigma Pi Sigma promotes a spirit of professional community among its members and encourages them to offer their collective wisdom and perspective in the service of larger society. You are joining a group in which you may play an active part for the rest of your life. We are happy to welcome you into this fellowship. So that is all of the official ceremony, and now I'm going to talk a little bit about making your ceremony memorable. So this is really important because your students are going to walk away from this ceremony and they're going to remember it forever. These are just a few testimonials about what students felt when they got inducted, and they range from profound to fun. The profound ones could be something like signing the same book as a Nobel Prize winner, or feeling like, as a first-generation Hispanic college student, they were finally seeing opportunities emerge. Or they could be things that were fun, like the senior members brought in a dinosaur sheet cake for their reception ceremony. And it's also important to tell students that they're joining a huge community. 100,000 and more lifelong members include 28 Nobel Prize winners, 11 NASA astronauts, and many more notable members. Coupling your induction ceremony with an existing tradition helps ease the planning process, so you could couple it with departmental awards, or maybe a post-graduation ceremony, or a holiday or end-of-year celebration, or your department's honors day. It's a great opportunity, once again, to invite Sigma Pi Sigma alumni, past inductees, and honor individuals who help the department thrive. And this doesn't have to be restricted to faculty and students. You could honor someone who's been instrumental to the success of students and the success of the chapter and department, and honor them as well. There are a couple different ways to make it memorable. Talking about the history of the department's a lot of fun. Requesting personalized greetings from VIPs. Making really cool cupcakes. I know those cost money, but they also help it make it a lot more memorable. And like I said earlier, we do have some virtual plenary speakers, and you can find these virtual plenary talks on our website. And if you did happen to have a virtual ceremony at some point during COVID, make sure you invite your alumni back for an in-person ceremony this year. It's also great to mention the membership benefits to students. So this is just a short list of all the membership benefits, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but you're going to get a lifetime subscription to Radiations, the official publication of Sigma Pi Sigma. Students can enter federal service at a higher pay grade, and they'll have access to a whole bunch of service opportunities. Just a quick note about the publication of Sigma Pi Sigma. It's been around since 1931. I've got some of the original covers down here in the bottom right, and our latest cover in the top right. It's a lifetime subscription, paper or electronic, and includes science, society, and member news, upcoming events, and featured stories. Just a few of the service opportunities that are available to students after they've been inducted are things like our Alumni Engagement Program, which they can sign up to be a mentor or to do talks or serve on panels. There's also the Physics Congress, which is sponsored by Sigma Pi Sigma, and it's our biggest event. Sigma Pi Sigma members often take leadership positions within that. And then we have the Adopt a Physicist program, where high school students can adopt a physicist and talk to students, and also being invited back to induction ceremonies. One thing I encourage you as advisors to do is submit member news about your Sigma Pi Sigma alumni, and you can scan these QR codes or click these links after I send out the slides if you want them. And we also have a section on hidden physicists. So these are physicists and astronomers that end up outside the traditional physics and astronomy community, and we love to feature them in radiations. So I'll go through some advisor resources really quick. We do have a whole slew of induction resources on the website. So the website itself is a resource. We have virtual induction resources, including PowerPoint templates, Zoom backgrounds, requests for alumni info. We do have the instruction video and the induction instruction manual. Make sure you stay connected. Sigma Pi Sigma members and advisors can join the Sigma Pi Sigma LinkedIn group. Just log in and request to join. So now we're going to move into a live Q&A session, and just go ahead and drop all your questions in the Q&A function in the chat, and we'll answer them as we get to them.